online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
About less than 24 hours ago, we lost a voice like no other. Rush Limbaugh has died from lung cancer at the age of 70. The announcement came during his program. I thought this was so classy. His wife, Catherine, told his loyal listeners.
I, like you, very much wish Rush was behind this golden microphone right now.
And he changed broadcasting forever. I mean, he really gave way to Fox News and other conservatives. And, you know, he's a staunch believer of the First Amendment. And he really was against this non-acceptance of the cancel culture, which we loved. And he kind of had a love-hate relationship with President Trump at first. He wasn't supporting him in 2016 in the primary, but changed his tune.
Can somebody point to me the conservative on the ballot? What do you mean, Rush? Are you admitting Trump's not a conservative? Damn right I am. Folks, when did I ever say that he was?
But he and Trump, you know, he backed him, obviously, and then in 2016 and in 2020, he was given the Medal of Freedom during the State of the Union address. And President Trump broke his silence last night. He was on Fox News, he was on Newsmax, and spoke fondly of his friend, Rush Limbaugh.
And he's never done this before and all those things, and then I won relatively easily. And it was a great honor to do so. When we gave the Medal of Freedom, it was something special. It was an incredible night. We gave it during the State of the Union address, and it was especially half the room. Half the room went crazy, and the other half of the room, they knew he should get it. But it was special, and he was special.
And when was the last time President Trump spoke with Rush Limbaugh?
3 or 4 days ago. I'd call him just to find out. You know, his fight was very, very courageous, and he was very, very sick. And, you know, from diagnosis on, it was just something that was not going to be beaten, but you wouldn't know it. And he is married to an incredible woman, Catherine, who really, every time I spoke to him, he would tell me how great she was. She took such great care. He was very brave. I mean, he, in theory, could have been gone 4 months ago, really. He was fighting till the very end. He was a fighter.
Well,
and just a great gentleman.
And whether you loved him or hated him, everybody knew who Rush Limbaugh was. And with that, we welcome to the program Tom Tradup, Vice President of this station, News and Talk Programming at Salem Radio Network.
Best behavior.
No pressure. No pressure, Scott. Welcome to the program, Tom. How are you?
Yeah. Hold on just a second, Amy. Tell Governor Pritzker that I'm on with a real journalist, and I'll call him back.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you. So you're the one who brought Rush Limbaugh to WLS Radio when you turned to talk radio back in 1989.
That's right. Yeah, ABC was in those days playing a very nice mix of Madonna, followed by Jerry Vale. And then Don and Roma, who ended up in mornings after I took over, were doing middays talking about the Chicago School Board and other boring stuff. Then you'd have something nice like the WLS Lucky Social Security Contest, real young skewing stuff.
Oh, my God.
So they brought me in, and we flipped it, Amy and Scott. We flipped it to talk in 1989. And ironically, we had a guy named Stacy Taylor. Stacy was with us for about a year, and we brought him in from San Diego at KSDO to do the 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. time slot. And due to a bunch of contractual issues, he ended up wanting to stay in San Diego, and ABC in those days was very draconian, and they wouldn't let him out of his contract. And so the lawyers were fighting over whether he was going to show up or not. And I said, well, what are we going to do? I got a new station here, and I got nobody to do 11 to 2. And in those days, Limbaugh was on mostly small to medium markets, like in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, and Tupelo, and places like that. He had no top 10 markets. Wow. And I said, why don't we put Rush on? And I called his network up, and they said, yes, sure. Oh, man, in a top 3 market like Chicago, we would love to have Rush on. You don't even need to sign a contract. And I thought, holy cow, this is great. So let's put him on, because I knew him from working with him in Kansas City years earlier, and I thought, he's going to be a monster hit in Chicago, because they're all Democrats, and they're going to hate him, and they'll tune in every day and, gnash their teeth. And as I said in a remark to Robert Feeder this morning, instead, we were surprised he sat there for a couple of years like the movie Flatliners, no ratings, no revenue. And
Really?
the people at ABC in New York kept calling and going, Limbaugh's really working in these other markets we have, and you're doing nothing. I go, believe me, fellas, you just have to wait. Chicago is one of those radio markets where if somebody's listening to Amy and Scott in the morning or Amy and Dan when he's there occasionally, just kidding, Dan.
Yes.
They're locked on to you, and they're not going to go anywhere else until you guys leave, if you ever do. You remember the sad story of Bob Collins smashing his airplane
Yes. Oh, I was there.
Of a building.
Yep.
When we were at LS, I thought Don and Roma were an absolutely terrific morning team. I hired them, and they sat there, sometimes up a little, sometimes down a little. But until Bob died, unfortunately, his audience was not going anywhere. And all of a sudden, they were up for grabs. So you will find that, I think, I sent a note to your boss, Jeff Reisman, today, and this is a great opportunity. It's very sad for those of us who are personal friends of Rush and who love him for literally turning around the AM band, which used to be like a dinosaur with its foot in the La Brea tar pits. It turned it around because of Rush Limbaugh. I mean, he single-handedly changed talk radio. But now that he's gone, whoever they put on your friends at 890 on the dial there, some people will say, okay, I'll listen, but most people will go, it ain't Rush, I'm looking elsewhere, and they're probably going to end up with you. So,
which I always
one
thought,
man's loss
yeah.
is another man's gain.
And I always thought the Rush Limbaugh belonged here at this station rather than up the dial or down the dial, because that station's a hot mess. I mean, I don't know what their message is. I don't know what they're focusing on, but they have all different, different talent or so-called talent that are going in different directions. So I don't know. Is there anybody that can ever fill Rush Limbaugh's shoes?
No, absolutely not, Amy. He's the kind of guy. Well, I'm thinking back when you and I were on Radio Row at the Republican convention where Donald Trump was nominated. Mm-hmm. And it's like everybody in talk radio was on Radio Row except Rush Limbaugh. He didn't need to be there. He's an entity unto himself. Right. He was such an icon, and politicians would come to him. You didn't have to go to them. And nobody's going to be able to replace Rush. I tell you a quick story. I don't know how much time we have.
Oh, yeah,
I don't want to bump up against traffic or something. But when he'd been on WLS for, I guess, a year or two, and as I say, I've known him for years before that. And he came to Chicago a lot for various Rush to Excellence tours and appearances and things. And he came in one time for a concert with Mannheim Steamroller. And, he'd play their music at Christmas time. And he called me up and he said, Tom, I want to bring you and your wife, Lori, to see Mannheim Steamroller at the Chicago Theater. It's going to be fantastic. Well, I'm thinking to myself, no offense to Rush, but I thought those guys died when I was in college. I mean, the synthesizer music and all that.
They probably did.
Yeah. Rush, I'd love to go, but I'm bringing my mom out from Syracuse for Christmas, and I don't want to leave her at home, so let's not do it. Fantastic. That's great. My mom's coming from Cape Girardeau. Both the moms can sit together. So we go to the concert, and we went to the thing. It was horrible, synthesizer music for 3 hours. But afterward, he threw a little party for the band who he knew well and their roadies, and we went across the street to a hotel. And while everybody was having brie and chablis, I noticed my mom in the corner with Limbaugh's mother, and they're both waving their arms and talking. And I said to Rush, I don't like the looks of this. Let's go over and see what's happening. And as we drew closer, my mom, both of the moms are dead, by the way, now, but my mom says to Rush's mom, oh, Miss Limbaugh. She goes, Gene, you don't call me Miss Limbaugh. We're friends now. You call me Millie. She goes, well, okay, Millie. I just wanted to tell you, I think Rush is such an articulate spokesman for conservatives, and you must be so proud of him. She goes, fiddle-dee-dee, let me tell you something. Your son is the president and general manager of the biggest radio station in America, WLS. And she goes, well, okay, but your son has a nationally syndicated TV show and also a best-selling book. She goes, Gene, let me tell you something. When we were in World War II, you could hear WLS here louder than KMOX in St. Louis down here in Cape Girardeau where we live. And I looked at Limbaugh and I said, you see, you can never impress your mom. But he was just a down-to-earth, small-town guy, and I think that was the magic. I think, with no disrespect to Hannity or Levin, who I love, they're great guys, but there's just something about him that connected with ordinary Americans in Chicago and all over the country.
It's authentic.
And no, there won't ever be another one.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't an act. With him, it was natural. It was from the heart, because there's a lot of bombastic talk show hosts who they're acting. They truly don't believe what they're saying, and I think that he was genuine.
I was listening to Up and Down the Dial yesterday here in Dallas, which is in the throes of a deep freeze and no electricity. But I was listening to people doing sort of mini obituaries of Rush, and somebody on one of the local stations said, Rush, there'll never be another Rush. He was the Johnny Carson of radio. I go, okay, thank you, Hollowhead. That's not quite right. He was a lot more than that. He was an entertainer, and he was bombastic, but in real life, which is where he was rooted, and you could tell that in the way his wife talked about him yesterday in that poignant clip that you played this morning, Amy. He was just a small town guy with real honest American values, and that came through the radio. You can't fake that. You can be loud and tell dopey stories like I'm doing, but you can't do that 3 hours a day for 3 decades and have that many millions of people stick with you. And so I don't think there'll be another one, but somebody will come along. It's not the end of radio. But
he had great intangibles. He had great intangibles.
Yeah.
And that's, people say, what was it? Well, I couldn't put my finger on any one specific thing, but it's like a ball player. He just had good and great intangibles that you couldn't really measure, but altogether it was something different, and everybody loved it because there are just very smart people on another channel at another time, and that have some great things going on, but for some reason he attracted those people, and I do think it was maybe the sound of his voice and how much he knew and the authenticity that came through, but a bunch of different things all coming together just to make him a very authentic, unique person, and I think that's what it was.
That's a great observation, Scott. He in many ways was the whole team. You can play baseball if you can throw the ball or hit the ball or catch the ball, but not really many people can do all three. He could do anything. Yep. He was a home run.
All right, Tom Tradup, Vice President, News and Talk Programming at Salem Radio Network, and was there when he flipped the switch to talk radio at WLS in 1989. Such a pleasure to have you on, and good talking to you, Tom.
Thanks, Amy. Great to hear your voice. Thanks, Scott. Nice to be with you.
Nice to be with you. Thank you.
And Tom Tradup joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. On AM 560. The Answer.
This can be your year for reclaiming your smile. Eat, speak, and smile with confidence. If you've been considering traditional dental implants to replace missing teeth or to stabilize loose, uncomfortable dentures, Proto Mini Dental Implants can help. In addition to traditional implant techniques, Proto Mini Dental Implants offers many alternative custom solutions that are quicker, more comfortable, and less expensive. Even if you've been told you can't have implants because of too little bone, you may find out getting beautiful teeth is still possible. Visit protominis.com. That's PROTO minis.com to learn more and schedule a consultation. New secure teeth in your mouth that look, feel, and function just like natural teeth is literally a click